We are alive.
It's happening.
Okay, no, that's getting old.
Look at me right now, hurt.
I'm sorry. It's too Oprah. It's too Oprah. It's too. Oh,
Let's.
I'm
Who
sorry.
wants to rock?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't cry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you could do.
Why would
do
you stifle my joy like
We can do different ones. Who wants to rock? It's happening. Let's roll.
I just
voila.
I don't know. I just always found Oprah openings cringe, and that's why I'm sensitive towards them. I get triggered. Anyway,
you get a trigger. You get a trigger.
No, stop.
You get a trigger.
Stop. Wait. Okay. Secularity saying is the overlay isn't on. What are you talking about?
It wasn't.
I can see it.
I just fixed it. Let's move on.
Oh, okay.
Secularity wins best viewer of the day today.
Ooh.
Let's move on.
Good job, Secularity. You saved us. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so guys, we're going to be covering the news on atheism, secularism, religion. See, people are saying echo because Suze is supposed to mute herself. Oh, she's leaving.
Didn't we just talk about this?
Yeah, we just talked about this right before the stream. She's back. It's okay. Oh my god, too much. Guys, tell Suze that she's awesome in the live chat. We're coming on heavy with attacking Suze today. Tell her she's amazing. Okay. So what are we doing? Oh yeah, we're covering atheism, religion, secularism. Today is very Christian heavy today, right? I'm getting a little bit of so if you're into taking a dump on Christianity, today is your day. So we're gonna start with the first news. But before we start with the first news, remember that you should subscribe to our newsletter because, guys, all the platforms are coming for us. And we have news about some other attacks that we're not going to talk about right now because we're not sure what's happening, but they're coming for us heavy. So you need to be on our newsletter right now so that you're in touch with us because they're going to try to nuke us out of everywhere, okay? So subscribe to our newsletter. And if you are not smart enough to be on our newsletter, we're bribing you with beautiful, beautiful blasphemous art, sexy, gorgeous blasphemous art that we send to all our newsletter subscribers for free. You don't deserve it, but we're giving it to you anyways because we're just too generous. We're like,
wow.
But you have to take advantage of it before we come to our senses and charge for it. But link in the description. You get free blasphemous art. Subscribe, and you get it in our newsletter every week. Every week we have new blasphemous art. Anyways, can we clap for the first news?
Yes, there's a lot of news we can clap for today.
First news. New study shows more churches closing than opening in America. In the United States of America, a new study by Lifeway Research found that 4,500 churches closed in 2019, while about 3,000 new ones opened up. The study was based on analysis of church data from 34 Protestant denominations and groups. The 34 Protestant denominations account for about 60% of the US-based Protestant denominations. In 2014, there were 3,700 church closures compared with 4,500 in 2019. Scott Thuma, a professor of sociology and director of the Hartford Institute for Religion Research, stated that there are between 320,000 and 350,000 Protestant churches in the United States. Hence, the closure of 4,500 churches represents a loss of 1.4%. The study, published in April, estimated that in the decade ending in 2020,
3,850 to 7,700 houses of worship closed every year in the United States, or that would be about 75 to 150 congregations per week. It also predicted those numbers would double or triple in the wake of the pandemic.
All right, so is this actual good news, or are more Christians just deciding not to have a church? But maybe some of them are becoming even more Christian, and they don't like what the churches are teaching. I know a lot. Like, I follow a lot of. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just trying to be skeptical, because a lot of very, very religious Christians are finding the church scene to be too liberal, too woke, too LGBT friendly. So they're not going to church. Some of them are leaving church because they're losing faith. Some of them don't find the churches to be hypocritical and doing so many like things that they don't approve of. But that is, some of them find the churches too conservative, but others find them too liberal. So what do we know what the reason behind all of this is?
So I think that it's kind of almost a moot sort of news, because they're saying there's so many churches, and they're constantly opening and closing a lot of these little ones. And this church joins with that church, and then some other pastor breaks off and starts a church, and then it closes. I mean, I lived for 10 years in the smallest incorporated village in the state I live in, of 532 people. And we had 5, maybe 6 churches, actual structures. And then there were several meetings that people had at their house they considered a church. They're 8 families or whatever. They had several of those, and those were constantly changing. People moved, people changed. They didn't like this guy, or that woman, so they start their own thing. So yeah, 532 people, 6 churches, plus various meetings. Revivals would come to this town. And so, yeah, I think that it's somewhat good news, but I think that Christians seem to have any option they want to either start a church, join another church if they don't like their one they're in, do it at home. So I don't think that them not being built is because people are specifically saying we don't like churches. I think that is happening in some ways, but they're going somewhere else. But the fact that there's less of them, I think that might reflect some demographic changes in terms of younger people and things like that. But
yeah, so it's some analysts are saying that the biggest reason for church closing is a decline in church membership. So a recent poll from Gallup found that fewer than 47% of Americans say that they belong to any house of worship. And that's a decline of 70% from 2000, which is crazy within the past 20 years. And I just want to remind everyone that these are numbers from 2019. Okay. So we can't take, the big global event that I'm using coded language for because of YouTube into that's not a confounding factor in these numbers as much.
And I've noticed in a lot of places, churches are consolidating, closing parishes because they just don't have enough members, particularly in certain inner city neighborhoods or towns that just, their industry's gone. There's very few people left there. So they've closed churches, and now everyone has to go to one, in a central location. So yeah, I think the decline in membership, definitely. And the changing demographics as well.
Yeah, they also cite just beyond, well, there's church membership, and then what makes how the congregation feels the effect of the lost membership is not being able to maintain the building. And they can't do that through regular donations or tithes from members because their membership is declining. But to Armin's ultimate question of, is this because of people leaving their faith, or are they just less interested in the traditional church? That's not completely clear just from this raw data. But I think I'm going to venture a guess that, stopping actual physical attendance is one step on the way out. Except, and like I said before, this is from 2019, so I don't have to take, other things that might prevent you physically being there into my consideration.
So what happens to the buildings? Who's gonna buy them?
Maybe no one. Or maybe they'll sell it to realtors, depending. I mean, like if you were in San Francisco, that property would be worth millions of dollars, like churches have done it. But
people do buy them and live in them. They're converted to other things, rec center, youth center, bar, anything, whatever it is.
In San Francisco, there's a church that has been converted into a roller skate rink, and it's called the Church of Eight Wheels, and it is awesome. You get to go roller skating in the middle of a church.
That's great.
But I think the idea of someone is saying it should be converted into housing, not a bad idea.
Well, I mean, I don't think like anybody gets to decide what they become. Whatever the demand is, people can come buy it, and whatever, like if there's funding for more housing, then there will be money to turn it into housing. If not, then other private players will come buy it and turn it into whatever that could make the most money. Or people could just turn them into residentials. And people, I don't know, maybe there would be a zoning problem with that if somebody wants to turn them into residentials. But go.
One thing I've noticed, when a church congregation can't maintain a building, a lot of times just another church moves into that building. So there's one down the street from me that's had 3 or 4 different denominations,
right? But
over the past 30 years, because whomever owns the building, or even the church that used to own it doesn't have the congregation, leases it to another
but
congregation, or they buy it.
That happens when one particular sect becomes less popular. But when there's overall less membership, then it will just turn into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say something else. I forgot. I can't wait to see mosques having to sell and turn into something else, because that would be like if mosques go bankrupt and then one of them turns into something haram, it would be such. We need to. I hope one day Atheist Republic covers the news. Mosque that was forced, like people, their owners were forced to sell it because of lack of membership. I don't think this is going to happen like in North America, because membership, like there's going to be more migration, and this is something that there will be more mosques, there will be more demand, right? But hopefully one day, I don't know, a couple of decades, when we get to the peak and then we go down the other side, then mosques being sold out because of too much supply of mosques and not enough demand, being turned into bars and strip clubs. Something like, I would like, maybe guys, get Atheist Republic to a point where 20 years from now, we have enough financial resources that the eventual demise of Islam in North America will give Atheist Republic the opportunity to buy a mosque and turn it into a bar, library, strip club, and homeless shelter at the same time. Okay, there's going to be 4 sections into the mosque. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The 4 popular answers.
Well, I just wanted to highlight something interesting, is that this study was actually done by like a Christian group. And the fact that it studies denominations that represent 60% of Protestant denominations in the United States is significant because most Christians in the United States are Protestants. And so I think I just wanted to put a point on that for a second to kind of highlight what this reflects upon in greater trends, and also how generalizable, like, is this result? Like, is it reflective of trends in America? Well, I think because it's representing 60% of Protestant denominations within the US, like, it does show a larger trend because that is a larger demographic.
Okay, I just want to address this. Ayan is saying, "Ew, Armin, you really want to buy a mosque?"
Hell yeah.
Have you looked at mosques? They're beautiful. Just because I'm against Islam, I'm not going to deny. I mean, not all of them. Some of them are crap, but most of them are gorgeous. You know, I'm not going to let my anti-Islam views deny the art and the beauty and the design of the design that goes into the building of these mosques. I don't want, like, again, if any of these mosques or churches, especially the ones that look beautiful, like, I hope nobody here is in favor of, like, destroying them or anything. These are gorgeous buildings that could be reused for other things, right? Especially Catholic churches. Oh my god, you know, like, this is what I don't like about Protestant churches. Like, at least, like, Catholic churches, when you see them in the middle of a city, they seem like they're making the entire city look prettier, like the old
That's right.
medieval look of the stone and everything. Protestant churches, like, what is this? It's just like another building with a cross on it. Like, you can't even do brainwashing right.
No, they're very grand, and you definitely made the Catholic superiority complex in me jump out. It's like, yeah, that's right. We are better. We're grandiose. That's culture. Ex-Catholic hours.
Ooh,
Are we? Could you imagine the Notre Dame as a nightclub? That would be the sickest club ever.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm biased, actually. I think there's too much historical stuff there that needs to be protected. That if it turns into a nightclub, I don't trust the type of people that would show up in an ancient building. And go ahead.
I can tell you without a doubt, there is no way ever the country of France is going to allow Notre Dame to turn into anything but what it is right now.
Right.
And by the way, they're rebuilding it because it had that horrible fire.
Yes.
And the fact that it's so important to them, there was massive consternation and kerfuffle and arguments about changing it, building it back exactly like it was, adding something modern, doing some, no, that was the end of that was the consensus. But
really, not modern. Keep it the way it was. Great.
Yeah. So, well, just the spire, the rest of it would have been the same, but the spire is what burnt down. But, yeah, a lot of these mosques, old synagogues, churches, all, Hindu temples, all kinds of things, Buddhist temples, they're exquisite pieces of architecture. And you learn a lot about, all kinds of eras of where the country you're in or the culture. So absolutely, I think they're super cool. Plus, I love Islamic tile, so mosques are my
all churches and mosques that have been built recently, they could be turned into whatever you like. But the ones that have historical values, if there's not enough membership to keep then you could turn them into museums. Museums for the ones that have historical value. All right. Can we go? Wait, hold on. Let me unselect this. Can we can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Next news.
Number of mosques in America growing. So this is a plot twist from our last news where Christian.
I knew it.
Wait, let me finish.
I told you. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a plot twist. Last news was Protestant churches are closing faster than they're opening, so they have a declining birth rate. Well, on the reverse, we have the number of mosques in America are growing. So my plan to implement Sharia in the United States, no kidding, is going well. No. Okay, so let's get into this news. According to a new report, while the overall number of mosques in the United States continues to grow, increasing numbers of African American mosques are closing. In 2020, the U.S. Mosque Survey numbered 2,769 nice mosques, an increase of 31% from the 2010 count of 2,106 mosques. Congressional prayers held in mosques on Friday, a practice known as Jummah, averaged 410 attendees before the pandemic in 2020. This was an increase over the 2010 figure of 353. Some 72% of mosques recorded a 10% or more increase in Jummah prayer attendance during the reporting period. The 2010 survey found that 17% of America's mosques were in urban centers. That number decreased to 6% in the 2020 survey due to the growth of new mosques in suburban and rural areas and the closure of many African American mosques in larger cities. As members of the first wave of African American Muslims are getting older, many African American mosques have struggled to remain open.
Okay, I will twist this as a positive. Do you? I know, like it's. Do you know how I'm gonna show you that this is? Do you have any guesses on how this is a positive?
This is due to immigration and birth rate, so that means that there are like a bunch that will be leaving in about a generation.
No, but that's also a good point. So that was. Okay, sure, that too, but that's not what I had in mind. What I had in mind is that this is not because of conversion, right? We have the numbers. Like somebody was asking, Marcia was saying, "Wait, where's Marcia was vague? Is this because of conversion?" No, we have the numbers. In North America, a lot of people are leaving. Second generation Muslims are leaving Islam, right? So I don't know what the net effect is, but it's not increasing for conversion. So the reason why demands for mosques is increasing in the U.S. is because of migration, right? There are more Muslims coming to the United States, right? So the reason why you can see this as a positive, right? This is not a win for atheism. However, it's a win for secularism, because the best place to be a Muslim, it's a non-Islamic country, right?
Heyo.
This is what this is saying. The best place for Muslims to live are non-Islamic countries. Muslims living in the United States, Muslims living in France, Muslims living in the UK, as with the discrimination against them, we don't deny that there's a lot of anti-Muslim bigotry. While including that in the equation, their lives are still better than the average Muslim in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh. This is a win for secularism. Secularism is not just for atheists. Secularism is good for everyone, including religious people. And this is one sign that shows that. What do you guys think?
I absolutely agree with you, Armin. And I think to your point about secularism isn't just for atheism, it's for religious people. And you were saying the best place to be a Muslim would be, in a Western country like Europe or the United States, Australia, someplace like that. Shows you that, in my opinion, why secularism is so important, because it's the best protection religious people have, is to have a government that's neutral and secular, so that there isn't one particular sect or faith that is above the other ones. It's absolutely the best place to live if you're any kind of a religious person, because you're going to have much more freedom and protection of the law than you will in a Muslim country or even any other highly religious or, government religion country.
Exactly. I have a question. Oh, Suze, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some more interesting facts. So this report was actually produced by 3 different, well, they seem Islamically affiliated organizations. So, which is the Islamic Society of North America, the Center on Muslim Philanthropy, and the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding. And it found that nearly 98% of American mosques are run by their local congregations, which I thought was very interesting. I think that this reflects a lot of attitudes, a difference in attitudes we notice between places like America versus like certain communities in Western Europe, where there seems to be much more foreign influence into congregations. Here, they're finding that almost all of them are just like run by local congregations. And I think that has resulted in very different attitudes in these congregations. That's speculation on my part. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Wait, this is also...
Well, I want to say something to your point. Is I think it's actually very valid to talk about the difference between the Muslim community and the Muslim demographics in the United States and in Europe and some other parts of the world, because the assimilation into the wider society is very well documented for American Muslims, much more so than in some other Western countries where they're still protected by secular law and they have more rights and freedom, but there's more self-ghettoizing and they're not as usually assimilated, more foreign influence. And also because of the protections under the law that religion is given and the kind of special category that religion is given in the United States, you have people who can open their version of their mosque in their community pretty much anywhere, anytime they would, so there's not a body in the same way that's controlling that, because they could buy a bunch of land in the middle of nowhere and make an Islamic community or open a mosque, or because there's so much religious freedom, so much pluralism, and no one is controlling any of that. You control it yourself, which is very American, that you have these communities that are running their own thing in their own way.
Yeah, actually, by the way, a lot of the American Muslims are considered fake Muslims by Salafi Muslims, and they are criticized. American Muslims, like even Muslims that we consider to be conservative, are considered sellouts by a lot of Salafis, right? Like, and people, like a lot of Western North American Muslims are seen by Salafi Muslims as Muslims who have accepted LGBT rights, who have accepted democracy, who have accepted women rights, who do not understand a woman's roles in the family, and they refer to these Muslims and what they believe in not Islam, but an American approved version of Islam. That's why how they refer it to, right? And a lot of these Salafi Muslims consider these American Muslims to be the greatest threat to Islam, more than the non-Muslims, more because they consider these as a threat to Islam, because they are a threat to young people because they seem like they're Muslim, and they think like these are the people who will brainwash our young from within, and the younger generation wouldn't even have its guard up against these ideas, because they don't think that these are their ideological enemies, because look, they're in mosque, they're praying, so they don't have their guards up, and they think with the name of Islam they're coming out and they say like you're selling ideas like LGBT and women rights and stuff like that to us. So they don't think like at least we are not wearing a mask, right? Like, for example, when we are speaking against Islam, we are upfront about it. And if a Muslim wants to guard against that, then we are saying that, oh yeah, we're anti-Islam, so you don't have to is hard for them to they can tell people to have their guards up, right? But these American Muslims, it's harder. They think like it's harder to defend against them when it comes to their attack on Islam. And it's interesting, like for example, people like Linda Sarsour, and what's her name? Oh my God, what's her politician? Congresswoman.
Elon
Rashida
Omar.
Tlaib.
Elon Omar, yeah, God damn it. Elon Omar also, like Elon Omar and Linda Sarsour, these are considered fake Muslims by people like, I don't know, one person we know here is like Daniel Hayraju. They're constantly exposed for, they think exposed for showing some support for gay rights or saying stuff that is like the whole idea of working with the Democrats. They consider that to be working with the enemy. A lot of these conservative Muslims think that Democrats are more dangerous. Like it's interesting because a lot of Americans think like, oh, if you ask them which one is anti-Islam, Republicans or Democrats, most people are like, well, Republicans are more aggressive against Islam, like the Muslim ban or all that. But Salafi Muslims, they think the Democrats are actually the more dangerous ones. They're like, look, the conservatives, at least they get some stuff right. They understand family values. They understand the role of women in society, the importance of, traditional values and blah, blah, blah. But the Democrats are the ones that have thrown all the values out the window. And for some reason, American Muslims are uniting with the most evil ones out there. Like, what the hell is like, what's wrong with you guys? Like, even with when it comes to the parties that you want to work with, you're working with the worst one. You both want to speak? I don't know who wants to go.
Go ahead, Susan.
Well, one, this is just hilarious. Gossam is saying, American Islam, you talk like Khamenei, Armin. So I wanted to touch on a few things. So mainly the decline of African American mosques. So for those who aren't aware, there were several movements of Black Americans converting to Islam in America. There in the 1960s and 70s, there was a huge movement kind of spurred on by the Nation of Islam, which by any stretch of the imagination, I think it's fair to say the Nation of Islam is a very deviant sect.
And they're American and particularly African American versus
centric,
worldwide Islam.
Yeah. And then there was another wave in the 1990s when various significant rap artists converted, and so there's been waves of Black Americans converting to Islam, and they had some interesting ideas about why this may have trickled off. So one of them is that the death of the former Nation of Islam leader Warithdin Muhammad died in 2008. And the community never really reconstituted itself, and it's been a barrier for growth in the Black Muslim community since. And subsequent generations have proceeded to leave that sect. And also there have been a lot of people who and this is total speculation on my part, but I wouldn't be surprised if the immigration of more people from Islamic countries exposed more Black Americans to quote unquote real Islam, and they maybe were like, oh wait, this Nation of Islam stuff it's very deviant, it doesn't make as much sense. I wouldn't be surprised if they left that sort of mosque for a more traditional mosque. And the author of this report, Ahsan Begby, he just because it touches on what we were talking about earlier, he said that attendance at mosques remains strong, particularly among the 18 to 34 age demographic, which is much stronger than that demographic in Jewish and Christian groups. And then he said, quote, my colleagues who work on Jewish and Christian congregations say to enjoy it while it lasts, that it is not sustainable. He said, I think it is too early to say a long-term decline is unavoidable or predetermined. So he's saying, I don't think there is going to be a decline. I think we're going to continue to see an increase.
Rivka?
Okay, so this may sound like, I don't know, skeptical in not necessarily a good way, just like, I wonder, based on everything you were saying about the fake Muslims from the Salafist point of view, and American Muslims aligning some Muslims aligning themselves with the Democrats and some of the LGBT rights, which are fine, but then also there's this whole narrative among a lot of the Wokistanis is that anything other than heterosexual white Christian is bad, and all these other groups are somehow aligned because they're not that. So whether it's Nation of Islam, Sunni Islam, Shia Islam, Hindu temple in the town there. So I wonder too if that sort of idea is what's maybe bringing more people into like maybe one kind of mosque instead of separate versions of it, because and maybe I'm not being clear and I'm dancing around this because of YouTube, or I don't want to say I haven't fleshed it out.
Yeah, I
But
don't know what you mean.
what I mean is there is an assumption amongst a lot of the left that anybody who's not white or Christian, they're all sort of one brotherhood, so to speak. And they make these very grand monolithic statements about all Black people, all brown people, all Muslims, all Asians. And so I was just commenting on your point of very conservative people not thinking that this is actually real Islam and Muslims working with the Democrats, and just how the demographics are changing for people here versus like immigrants who tend to be more conservative right. So anyways, like I said, I haven't totally fleshed it out, but I think there's something here too that can be discussed about this identity merging.
Right. Yeah, it's a merger that is going to have a lot of issues. It is going to be a lot of conflict. We see this already. Like, it's not going to be as smooth as a lot of people assumed it was going to be. We already see this conflict. We're seeing it more in Europe than in North America, because in North America, North America has the advantage of having a giant ocean between them and Islamic countries. So there's a natural screening process that gets the type of Muslims that are more likely to become, westernized and accept another different interpretation of Islam. But the conflict between left-leaning parties and the movement to accept Islam is going to become a lot more difficult in countries like United Kingdom and France, where they let in a Trojan horse that is now considers accepting LGBT rights a major red line. So this is going to be a major conflict between leftists and Islamic movements. So it's just I'm just saying. All I'm saying is grab your popcorns for the next decade. Okay, it's going to be a fun ride.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and thanks for kind of for fleshing that out a little bit more, Armin, because that's kind of where I was going. That there is this issue with the leftist fetishization of Islam.
Right. Yeah, a lot of them actually have. Am I muted? No. A lot of them have woken up to this. That like no thank you. Like some of them are
in
like
no small part because of the rise of the ex-Muslim movement, saying guys, I don't know who told you differently, but this is still an Abrahamic mindset. Like, we got a lot of the same problems. Just because we're brown, we're not saints, okay?
Right.
That's what I mean by these monolithic generalizations, and it's also kind of the racism of liberals that bothers me.
Right. Before we cover the next news, I want to complain about the website. Okay, I just want to rant. Who makes these websites? Right, white text on a white background. Like this is why. Like what? And then look, I can't even scroll down to show the image and the title at the same time. But who comes up with this? Like, who doesn't understand? Like, guys, we don't have a budget. Atheist Republic's budget is like this much. But we know that when you have a white text, you put something darker in the background so people can read it. God damn it. And that's why I'm going to show you the Facebook post instead of their website. But go ahead. Wait, can we clap?
Sure. No. I don't know.
No. Okay. Next news.
Next news. Friday sermon in Jerusalem. Quote, "We shall shatter the heads of America and the infidels." So we're coming in hot. Imam Yusuf Markazra in Jerusalem said that the Muslims would, quote, "shatter the heads of the United States and the infidels and conquer Rome." The remarks were made during a Friday sermon aired on, you guessed it, his book careers, Al Waqiya TV, Lebanon, on May 17th, 2021. Maharza also said that Allah would revive the dead, and he will revive the people of Palestine, Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all the Muslims in the world. He continued to say that the people who we refer to as the children of Abraham, because of YouTube algorithm being very sensitive, would not be for the considerations of Muslims on that day because they are, quote, "too lowly, too ignoble, too base, and too disgraceful."
Wait, so they're gonna conquer Rome?
Yeah, that
I have my my history timeline here, okay? And I think that they're about 1600 years too late. Like, which Rome are we talking about? Are we talking about because the Rome that they were supposed to conquer was the Roman Empire, not the city of Rome. Yeah, that was like Rome was sacked like in the 1400s. Yeah.
Come on, history lesson.
The dead are going to come back to life, Armin. So I guess anything's possible. And I've heard this rant from other imams and stuff about. I've heard other sermons where they talk about the dead coming back, and also sort of the end times narrative that the IS people talked about in Dabik. This dead will come back, they'll smash heads, and then Jesus will also come back, but he'll be a Muslim, and then they'll all pray together and conquer everything, and the children of Abraham will all die and don't count in the equation because they're just there to die. That's very similar to some of that same end times narrative I've heard.
Nothing, but nothing tells you that our ideology and our views is like not up to date with the times when you make promises that are like a couple of 100 years too old. Okay, here's the thing though. Is this Friday sermon in Jerusalem? Is this happening because which is this a Al-Aqsa mosque sermon? Like, is that the mosque that we're talking about? Because recently,
I don't think it happened in Al-Aqsa. Let me see.
Okay, I don't think so because they're preventing a lot of, pretty much nobody's getting to go there.
No, they're still they are. They're not. The closure of that stopped a couple of weeks ago.
They're controlling the permits and everything.
Yes, but their Friday sermons will go on. Like if the Friday sermons were blocked, they would be hell to pay right now again. But the thing is that in what happened, I don't know, 1 week or 2 weeks ago, in the Friday sermon, the person that was in charge of the Friday sermon, he was, part of like in alignment with Fatah or the current officials from the West Bank, right? Which is something that Palestinians are more and more angry against, as people who want to negotiate, people who are not hearing what Palestinians want, people who want more confrontation, more resistance, less negotiation. They consider, a lot of Palestinians consider the Fatah and anybody that works with them to be like controlled opposition, people who do the security, Palestinians who are doing security measures of the Israeli government for them. Like basically the same thing, like when the big H happened in the World War II. Again, I'm not gonna, I hope people know what I'm talking about. There were certain, again, children of Abraham, I hope people know what I'm talking about, who were helping the Yazidis to do the things that the crimes that they were committing. Wow, a lot of code words. I hope people understand what I'm saying. But these are the Palestinians, like Fatah and the police in West Bank, are considered to be like people who are betraying Palestinians, who are basically doing the security measures of the enemy for them, and keeping, and basically instead of fighting the enemy, dealing with the enemy, negotiating with the enemy, recognizing the enemy, legitimizing the enemy, right? So the previous Friday prayer leader of Jum'ah leader that came, he was, there's video of this. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it was making the rounds on the internet. The people were calling him dogs of the enemy. Like they were like, I can't say even the swear words. Like the entire congregation was chanting against him. Like imagine being a Friday prayer like this, like you have a imam trying to lead the prayer and the entire mosque was rising against them to go back, you know, things that I can't even say, right? Like go watch that video, okay? It was powerful. Like it was a very powerful video. This was right after the rocket launches and everything that happened recently. So maybe, but I'm guessing, I don't know, I actually haven't followed that, is that once they kick that guy out, now they're bringing their people, which is more Hamas. Like instead of being Fatah friendly, it's more Hamas friendly. And you know what type of people you're gonna get leading the Friday sermon if the congregation wants a more aggressive kind of Friday prayer leader. This is what you're gonna get. Okay, might be what's happening. I'm not sure exactly, but if somebody knows if this is true, let us know.
I think
that's
this,
a good analysis.
I think this may have happened at Al Aqsa because I found the original video, and
Ooh.
it just says Bait al Maqis.
Wait, I've been to that mosque. I've been inside that mosque. If I see the video, I know if it's
Google's and Wikipedia says that Bait al Maqis is on refers to Holy House or referring to the temple in Jerusalem, which of course includes Al Aqsa Mosque.
If it
a Baita is house.
If it zooms out, I would be able to see. God damn. Where this is? Nope, it's zoomed in. Zoom out. I can see. I just wanted to brag about me being able to recognize a mosque, but it's too zoomed in. I can't.
In the beginning, it says Lebanon, though, when the memory logo and they give the sheikh's name or the imam's name or whatever.
But it is in Jerusalem. It says Friday sermon in Jerusalem.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it was aired via Hizbut Tahrir in Lebanon.
Oh, okay, it was aired there. Okay, cool. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, can I clap for the next news? Wait, before we even go to the next news, I'm gonna complain again. Okay, I'm gonna complain about. Guys, this is Vice. These are people who are supposed to have a lot of resources for their website, right? Look, I want to look at half the page is like a black nothingness at the freaking top. Look at this. And then when I want to scroll down so I see less back and see the picture, look, the cover, the title is not there. Like I want to see the title and not all of this back. I want to see the title and the picture. But look, I can't see look at this. Who makes these websites? God damn it. All right.
There's also content underneath the title that you can't see. If you see it's not just the title that is not visible. It's the content. I'm totally with you. This kind of stuff bugs me, but let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do the Facebook one again instead. All right. Next. Wait. Yeah. We can clap. No.
Turn on that is saying, hang on, everyone. Armin is having a moment.
All right.
I'm like,
Okay.
okay, let it.
Okay. No, we can't clap for this one. Next news.
Next news. Pakistan is cracking down on Uyghur Muslims who fled China. Pakistan's police are now deporting Uyghurs back to China due to pressure from the Chinese government. Although Pakistan has a strong identity as an Islamic nation, the promise of Chinese money seemingly overpowers the urge to stop what is happening to Uyghur Muslims in the Chinese nation. A Uyghur refugee in Pakistan named Ghaffur stated that the Pakistani government would do anything China orders them to do. As a result, Pakistan is no longer a safe haven for this Muslim minority group. The founder of the China-Pakistan Institute, Mushahid Hussain, agrees with Prime Minister Imran Khan and sees the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, which is a series of substantial infrastructure projects in the nation, as a substantial economic win for Pakistan. Umair Mohammed Khan, a school teacher turned activist, runs an underground railroad allowing Uyghurs to escape China. Deputy Chief of Mission at the Chinese Embassy in Islamabad, Li Zhangzhao, considers Han and other Uyghurs in Pakistan as members of the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, or ETIM, which is a group responsible for several violent attacks inside China, like the 2005 attack in Urumqi in the Xinjiang region. So, this Chinese official in Pakistan considers this school teacher turned activist who helps people escape as basically part of a terrorist organization, as we say here, because of having to use coded language because of the YouTube algorithm.
All right. I want to say a few things, okay? I don't like, sometimes I'm lost for words because Pakistan goes around and tries to police other countries, and portrays people's commentary and cartoons about Islam as a violation of human rights and oppression of Muslims, and makes itself act like a champion for Muslims, for going to telling countries like France to behave better and treat Muslims better by stopping people from drawing cartoons of Muhammad, right? But it's not enough for them to be such fucking hypocrites to go and oppress non-Muslims and atheists, secularists. No, they have to also do this to Ahmadis and Shias who are supposed to be like their fellow Muslims as well, right? So to be hypocrites, like, yeah, not only we don't violate human rights of non-Muslims in the most hypocritical way, while we act like we're defending Muslims just because we defend their feelings rather than actual harm to Muslims, right? We're going to actually violate people's human rights, but not just non-Muslims, also Muslims who are not Sunni like us, who do not accept our brand of Islam. But no, even that is not enough. Even that is not enough. Even Sunni Muslims who are being put in concentration camps and killed and tortured in the most vile, aggressive ways on scales that we have not seen since World War II. We are going to take the side of the people who is actually oppressing the Muslims, not just with words. Because yes, It wasn't enough for us to send a congratulation, like accept China, be like, yes, you're doing the right thing. Sorry, we criticize you. Just words betraying your fellow Muslims by words was not enough. No, we are going to climb to the highest amount of hypocrisy anybody could ever get to by getting involved, by physically removing these people who are trying to get protection in a fellow Islamic countries against a government that is coming after them because of their religion. We are going to take part in and taking the side of their oppressors and removing them. Not only we're not calling this out as a crime against our fellow human beings, fellow Muslims. Not only we're not going to say something bad, condemn it, we are actually going to get involved. We are going to send these people back into the wolf's belly. Like who? Why would? Like how are Muslims? Where? Like guys, okay? If you are a Muslim, okay, and you claim, if you have said anything about oppression of Muslims, okay, I call upon you to speak against this, okay? You are a Muslim, okay? If you have spoken out against Israel, if you have spoken against United States oppression of Muslims in anywhere, okay, you better get on this as well, because you are part of the problem if you can't even call this out, if you are not becoming an active on this issue. This is the greatest human rights violation. One of the, I don't know, maybe the Yemeni one is more, but this is one of the greatest human rights violations of our time, okay? If you don't want to be one of those people that future generations are going to say, why were they silent? How could they have been silent? What happened to Never Again? What the fuck happened to Never Again? Never Again turned into Over and Over Again.
You know what, Armin? It's not just that Pakistan is siding with China. They are doing China's dirty work for them.
Yeah.
By forcibly deporting people back to the region that oppressed them and caused them to come as a refugee to Pakistan. So they're doing the dirty work for them. There's like, oh, don't worry, we'll do it for you. And I find it really objectionable. And this is just, Pakistan is busy defending the faith, but not the victims who are of that faith.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly, yes.
That's what they're interested in doing, is making sure that the idea of Islam and the religion itself is protected. But Muslims who are followers of that ideology don't count in the same way, because they're not Musliming properly, the right way. It's not the right kind of Musliming. And I think that also this really enrages me, because Pakistan has so much to say, as you said, about other countries demanding the UN adopt their version of resolutions about their version of Islamophobia and not allowing people to speak against someone's ideology, all these things that they want the rest of the world to do. And they're also very busy saying that they support Muslims, but it often seems to me really the only Muslims they support are themselves and anybody who's against, any Muslim who's fighting against the United States or Israel. Everybody else they don't care about.
So I would like to recommend to everyone to go on YouTube and just go to the Vice News channel and go look for this news. Just type like Pakistan Uyghurs. You'll probably find it. They did a really good profile on the teacher that is mentioned in this article who runs this underground railroad trying to get Uyghurs safely from the Xinjiang region. And then he is now so he built this school in Pakistan where he would teach Uyghur children their language, and they showed videos of him with this school where he's pointing out cultural artifacts, pictures of architecture and places in Xinjiang, teaching the children, like, this is what your history is, this is what your culture is, because they've never been there. These are the clothes that we wear. This is how we sing. And he called it School of the Mother Tongue, because he says, without our language, we have nothing. And it was about his efforts to help these children know where they come from and know how to speak their language, because that's one of the most important things they have in terms of maintaining their identity, because the Chinese government, especially in the Xinjiang region, is actively trying to make people lose it. You can be basically people, it will raise red flags if you're speaking it. And it's gotten to the point where he has now had to close his school and flee that region. And he's now looking for a way to leave Pakistan himself, because he's afraid that through these Belt and Road initiatives, if Pakistan isn't able to return these high interest loans, China can start seizing land. We've seen it play out in ports in Sri Lanka. And he's worried that Pakistan will essentially just become a colony of China. And he's already received, he says that neighbors are encouraged, they are paid to file reports about like ex-Chinese, like Chinese expats, basically, that describe, what does this person look like who comes into your home? What do the people who come visit your neighbors look like? What language do they speak? And he receives files asking for his biological data to prove who can be sent back to China, essentially. These forms even have the Pakistani and Chinese flag on them. And he was holding this form and he was saying, this form demanding our bio data, this is more dangerous to us than bullets, because you're trying to expose who we are ethnically, so you can hunt us out and persecute us. And they talk about how people who live in Pakistan, they are afraid to return to China. They're afraid to let alone contact their family in China, because they are well aware of the fact that there's a high likelihood that they could be beaten, seized from their families, taken to concentration camps, and tortured, essentially. And so, yeah, it's just this, I mean, I almost started crying watching it, this really touching profile about this man and what his community and his heritage means to him, and now how he has to leave too. Like, he can't even maintain his work in the same way of trying to help people flee this persecution, because he now has to flee from Pakistan itself.
Your point about the language is really important, because there were some similarities to what you were talking about in terms of some things that happened with Native Americans in the United States, putting them in different schools, not letting them speak their language, making them change their names, as a way to take that identity out of them. And it's very similar. And the whole time, all I could think of is, like, we need like an Operation Solomon for the Uyghurs, which is when Israel brought all the Ethiopian Jews. They like flew a plane in there, got them all in there, and brought them out. I almost feel like there's got to be, there's so many Muslim countries that have so much wealth and are constantly chanting about, caring about Muslims of the world. There's none of them seem to be interested in these individuals. And it's just very, very sad. And it is the textbook definition of hypocrisy.
A lot of people keep arguing whether Gaza is an open prison or it's not an open prison. But the camps that China has built for Muslims, there's no arguing that that's a goddamn prison, right? So if you can we get like a fraction of the attention that we get for Muslims in Gaza or anybody in Gaza and the bad living conditions that they are? Again, I'm not trying to dismiss that. That deserves attention, okay? But can we get because a lot of Muslims pretend that they're defending them because they're Muslims and Muslims want to protect other Muslims, right? But this is the level of evil that the CCP is involved with is unimaginable. This is villain, fiction level villainism, right? This justifies so much more attention. Can we get a fraction of what we're getting? See all the news that we're getting about the situation in Gaza. Okay, I'm not saying reduce that. Okay,
Yeah,
increase that.
Wall-to-wall coverage.
Wall to wall, yeah, and don't stop any of that. Have all of that, but can we get just a 1%, just 1% of that coverage about what China is doing across all these media, right? Anyways, guys, here's the thing. For Muslims, okay, I'm gonna give you an anti-atheism pass, okay? You use this as a way to scare people about atheism. If that's the excuse you need to talk about this, then go with that, okay? If you need something to make this more exciting for your platforms, be like, make atheism look bad. It doesn't matter. I don't care. If you want to make atheism look bad, as long as you're bringing attention to this, that's a fine price to pay, okay? Go be like, ooh, boogie, ooh, look at this. Look at what atheism is doing, okay? Do that. Scare people about atheism, about the evils of atheism. As long as you're bringing attention to this, I don't mind, okay? Anyways. So, can we go? Wait, what are we doing? Can we clap for the next news?
Well, this is quite dramatic. And you know how every week you say that, oh, we have one news that isn't religion related just to make people mad? And then the last several times you've said that, we've actually always had religiously related news. Well, today, this is technically not religiously related at all.
Okay.
But we're going for it.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. So next news.
On May 24th. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Next news. Indian police raid Twitter for flagging BJP post as, quote, manipulated media. So we'll get into it. On May 24th, the central government supervised Delhi police special cell raided Twitter India's Delhi and Jugaon offices concerning a social media outlet tagging BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra's tweet on Congress Toolkit as, quote, manipulated media. In January 2021, the Indian government sent notices to Twitter to take down several posts and footage related to the historic farmers' protest. The IT ministry flagged these posts for allegedly spreading misinformation and having the potential to, quote, lead to imminent violence affecting public order in the country. Following Twitter India's refusal to do so, the IT ministry threatened to jail every employee in Twitter India's office, forcing them to back down and comply. Activists, politicians, and the general populace have condemned Delhi police's actions and expressed concerns about the right to freedom of speech being vulnerable within the country.
What a joke has the BJP become? Wait, never mind. It was always a joke. But no, seriously, this is the most pathetic. They're really competing with the GOP when it comes to being hypocrites and weak and pathetic. They can't take criticism. Actually, I don't know.
It's not even criticism. I mean, actually, they can't take criticism because we've seen that before. Like I said earlier, with the farmers' protest, that was a huge deal. They were mandating that Twitter just cancel entire hashtags just because it was critical of them. And I mean,
wait. So they are. Let me get this straight, okay? They are asking an American company who banned their own president, wiped his account off completely off of their platform, that they have this standard on their own country. So like, we're American company in America, we banned our president, our own president, we banned him from the entire platform
while he was in office,
while he was still the president. But when it comes to India, and again, we're not an Indian company, but when it comes to India, what we are expected to do is not even to flag posts, not like, forget banning, forget removing accounts, forget deleting posts, not even deleting posts, letting the post stay, but just having a warning that this is manipulated media. If you do that, we're gonna raid your offices. Like, what? Like, have you not seen that this is a company? Oh, god damn it.
It's freaking ludicrous. How many, like, Trump's tweets were flagged as manipulated media for months before he was banned. Nothing happened to any office of Twitter, okay? Here in downtown San Francisco, I didn't see any federal agents storming down Market Street, okay, to go to their headquarters. Like, what?
No, go on.
Oh,
no, I'm saying right.
And so, oh my god.
But imagine that. Actually, you're so right. Guys, this shows you as, okay, so any Americans watching this who are saying like, oh, we're becoming a totalitarian country, this is basically a dictatorship, like, oh, we're just as bad as other countries. You have no idea. You get to complain there are things wrong with America. There are many things wrong with America, but do not tell me it's the same as these other countries, okay? Imagine the equivalent of this. And it would be even more. It wouldn't even be equivalent, okay? Because at least Twitter is an American company. But somewhat equivalent would be, as soon as Twitter flagged one of Trump's tweets as like biased or not accurate, imagine if the FBI raided Twitter's head offices. Oh god! Like, saying this is unimaginable, okay? Even though Twitter is like, you might even say, even then it would be even less outrageous because they're raiding and it's an American president that's raiding an American company, right? But even that is unimaginable for FBI to be like, oh yes, you are unfair to our president and we're gonna raid Twitter's offices because you marked his tweets. Okay, they went even farther; they removed them. But in India. And guys, India is not even the worst country, right? India, we're talking about a country that is better than Pakistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries. But look at the standards. The government gets to raid a social media company, not because of the tweets that were removed, just because they were marked as manipulative. Like, look at the gaps between the standards. What?
It was just a spokesperson of the party.
You're right.
It wasn't even head of state.
It wasn't even against the head of state. It was just against it wasn't, guys, the level of the degrees of the separation between the standards is astronomical. It wasn't an American it wasn't an Indian company, it was an American company. It wasn't the head of state, it was just a spokesperson. It wasn't a removal tweet, it wasn't even a ban of account, it was just marking it, and they responded with raiding the offices. And this is not even the worst country. It's not even close to the worst countries. And then some Americans come and say like, oh, we're becoming a totalitarian country. You have no idea. And it was Rivka.
So, I just want people to realize what this is. This is the government using the law enforcement arm to go after a private company because they did to defend the feelings or the character or whatever of their party. That's what this is. They're using the legal and criminal arm of their country infrastructure as mafioso type shakedowns. You do something we don't like, this is what's going to happen to you. And that is really, really, really dangerous.
Completely. I wanted to provide a little bit of background on this because I realized we just jumped right into this. For people who don't know, the BJP is the ruling party of India. It is also the largest political party in the world. It is also the most well-funded political party in the world. And some background on this specific incident in this tweet. So this is a spokesperson, the national spokesperson for the BJP, where he claimed that the largest opposition party to the BJP, known as the Congress, is using a quote-unquote toolkit to defame the government's efforts on handling the global sickness that we're dealing with. Again, I'm using coded language for YouTube. So if you guys may have heard about the controversy surrounding Greta Thunberg with the farmers' protest, it goes back to that and that social media activism. There was a huge controversy over her releasing a so-called toolkit, which I could be described as like a file that outlines maybe specific hashtags to use, maybe specific people to tag, people to email. It's like a press kit that you give to the public to say, this is how you can help us take action by contacting these people, use this script, etc., that kind of thing. So it's referred to as a toolkit. So this spokesperson put out this document that he was claiming was one of these press toolkits by the Indian Congress, and their whole point was to defame them, defame their efforts, and criticize them about handling this global sickness and how it's gotten very, very bad in India. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration too, because it's not just all the things that we outlined a second ago with how outrageous it is, but it is also saying it is, this post was trying to basically discredit criticism of the government, criticism of the handling of this, say that it's just this, conspiracy. So it's now delegitimizing, criticisms of the handling of this crisis in India. So that's a little bit more background. And I also wanted to touch on something important because it wasn't something I had considered so much in the past when I was criticizing social media companies for their handling of blasphemy in the social media sphere. I've been doing a lot of reading on reports and academic articles in this area recently. And I hadn't taken into consideration the issue of jurisdiction. So while all the big five social media companies are American companies, they're headquartered in the US, companies can choose to set up headquarters or offices or locations in other countries. As soon as a company has an office in a different country, they are now under the jurisdiction of that country. And so they have to comply to a certain extent. A lot of companies fight back as best as they can, but countries are sneaky, and they can also be very clever in the way that they request the private information of users. So a lot of companies, some more successfully than others, push back when they can. But the bottom line is that they are within the jurisdictions of these governments, and that if these companies on some level decide not to comply with these governments, their employees that physically live there are now in danger and likely to face personal prosecution for the actions of the company that they work for, the international company that they work for. So as much as I have criticized companies like Facebook for their actions against Atheist Republic and taking down, blocking our entire page in India, I have to recognize that it is a personal risk to their employees to continue to have that page up. It puts their livelihoods at risk. They can be held personally responsible for this. So that piece of the puzzle does need to be taken, and this is evidenced by the actions of the Delhi police here. We can see that this is very much a real fear, and it is a real danger to the employees of these companies. So I think a part of this, and this is more speculation, my take on things, is that this is possibly the Indian government it's a show of force. Like, I don't know exactly how the exact actions regarding this exact tweet are going to play out, but it does result in a show of force, because there's been lots of back and forth with India and their IT laws right now. The company WhatsApp, owned by Facebook, is suing the Indian government because of the IT laws that they're trying to pass through and force them to release their users' private information to a degree that has basically been unprecedented before. So that's a major step of pushback on the behalf of WhatsApp and therefore Facebook. But I wanted to talk about this story because I think this is just the beginning. This is going to be a continuing, very heightening, escalating problem in India. And this was a big escalation.
So I agree with you that it very likely was simply a show of force saying, like, look what's going to happen. Because often you see things like this and no real charges result, or they're very minor. But I think that that's important because they're saying, look, we are controlling this media platform. We're controlling, in effect, the press. What you can talk about, how you can talk about it, interfering in that narrative and punishing the people who work for a company who do not necessarily make those decisions. All of that sounds very CCP like to me, in a way that and Eastern Europe, USSR. So you get people to comply with your demands by making them personally liable for the decisions of others, and informing on other people. And yeah, I think that it's super dangerous because they really are doing what the flag was for. They are trying to manipulate media. They are trying to control the information, and they're using an arm of the government to do it.
And it's all through a lot of legislation aimed at national security. That's how they mainly get through these things. And they use what's it called? The 69A blocking order. That's how you know how much this has affected my life, when I know the numbers and codes.
Oh, God. If we keep going like this, in 10 years from now, Sue's going to be like an
I'm
Indian.
I'm going to know the penal code by heart.
She's going to become an Indian legal expert.
Digital rights in India.
Right.
So they're, like I was saying, but the Indian government, I think it is a show of force in multiple levels, because there was changes to laws recently, and this is something I am not as familiar with, so I'm just going to give the general list of explanations. But basically, there was a change in things that could lead to the entirety of Facebook being blocked in India. So some of my friends are messaging me like, hey, I got to find another way to contact you, just in case. That's changed. Also, and in regards to Twitter, so we both know, like Rivka was saying, that they are trying to manipulate the media. That's a fact. The influence of the BJP within Facebook is extremely well documented. The influence of, as they are called, Hindu IT cells on Twitter is extremely well documented, where there are mass so-called IT cells that organize around maybe specific posts, maybe specific individuals, maybe specific parties, raid their posts, mass report, or maybe they congregate to artificially boost their own posts and their own engagement to get more of their narrative boosted within the algorithm on the platform. Now, my point about this is that they have, I don't think that their ultimate, I mean, this is, I could be wrong, you know, only God knows. No kidding. I don't think that they're actually going to take action to completely take down these websites, because some people are saying Twitter should just leave India or something. I don't think that's going to happen, because these countries have invested too much into the influence that they have on these platforms. They have, it's a boon. It's such a tool to them to have the influence that they have on Twitter, on Facebook. So I think this is to scare the employees, to make the headquarters know how far that they could take this. But ultimately, they have invested a lot of money. It's people's jobs to manipulate these platforms. So I think it would actually be a disservice to them to completely eliminate
I think that is actually really, really insightful, because it kind of fits with this mafia analogy that, you know, it's not beneficial to you to blow up the money laundering establishment. It is beneficial to you to have it keep going because you're using it to further your cause, but you want them to comply and do it the way you want them to do it. And that's exactly right. So they want to use this media to their advantage, but they also want to control what anybody else does, so no one else can use it to their own advantage. Only one entity is in charge of it and controlling the information that's getting out there. And that's also the manipulation of media. The fact that they would raid this office right because someone said you manipulated media. You're doing it right now by threatening, you know, not that, and that isn't even, you know, the cells that are purposely doing that. I'm just talking about the physical act of threatening people, saying like, look, we don't like that you said this or did this about us, and you're in trouble now.
Yeah, I think I would just my ending note is that congratulations, BJP, you made yourself look like a fool, a laughing stock, a transparent authoritarian force on the world stage, because people are like, what? Are you kidding me? They banned the sitting US president and nothing happened. It's a fucking joke. Like, they just look like little school children who are just like, ah! Like
they just, to me, look like any other authoritarian regime that uses draconian measures to try and control information that the populace
they expose
has access
themselves
to
for exactly what they are, and more people are starting to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
I am on fire today.
Yes, you are. I just want to add one last point. I just want to say that India deserves better. And India can do much better. And I have hopes that India will do better. India can do much better than BJP and much better than Hindutva. And one day India will get what it deserves. And, you know, the younger generation is showing us that they will replace these idiots one day. Hopefully. We'll see. Can we clap for the next news? Yeah. Next news.
Pope changes Catholic law to criminalize the sexual abuse of adults by priests. Pope Francis has reformed Catholic Church law to specifically criminalize the sexual abuse of adults by priests who abuse their power. The law acknowledges that adults, not only children, can be victimized by priests who abuse their authority. The changes also say that lay people holding church positions, such as school principals or parish economists, can be punished for abusing minors and adults. The new rule, which is set to take effect on December 8th, also eliminates much of the discretion that long allowed bishops and religious superiors to overlook or hide the abuse, making clear those in positions of authority will be held accountable if they fail to properly investigate or sanction predatory priests. The Reverend David Cito, a lawyer at the Pontification Holy Cross University, said that the broadness of the law, quote, allows it to protect many people who might not fundamentally fall under the strict definition of vulnerable, but are nonetheless deserving of protection.
Okay, I'm gonna take the glass half empty side of this. First of all, the title is very, I know what it actually is saying, but it just reads very badly. It just seems like, yeah, I'm not going to criticize the title, but like really, like they had to clarify that, like the whole point, like the fact that abuse is wrong needed to, like, it took them how many goddamn years to get to the point where, like, oh yeah, sexually as abusing people, bad. Like, these are the people that are supposed to be the moral guide for humanity, and it took them 2,000 fucking years to finally come to the conclusion, like, that sexual abuse is wrong. Like, well, congratulations. What? Like, am I missing something here? Rivka, go on.
Well, I think what they're saying is that we're actually going to do something about it. Like, you know, and what I think in terms of, and the doing thing that they're going to do is not actually really anything. It's just the statement, it's wrong. Now, see, we've done that. But what I think is interesting is the point where they're saying, you know, people can be held accountable and sanctioned for, you know, abusing children, you know, lay people. Yeah, because this is what the thing that I don't understand. It's that they're basically saying, well, we're going to follow the law. Because those people are held accountable whether you say it's right or wrong or not, or whether you say anything. Because that is a crime, and the state has an interest in protecting kids. So not only is it a crime against a child or an adult, but it's a crime against the state. The state can bring prosecution charges in certain things. You don't even have to, some cases, you know? So I feel like this is a nothing burger, but yet it also is sort of them saying like, okay, all right, you know, we got to say it's bad. We got to say it's wrong. So we're saying it.
Wait, so...
And that's good in some aspect, I guess.
It's only good in this aspect that, like, well, I mean, at least one aspect of it is this is an official admission that they haven't been following the law until now, no?
Or that priests abuse people.
Yeah, but the fact that they didn't have it on the books that this is wrong means that they, like, until now, they weren't treating it like it was a crime.
Exactly.
So, yeah, again, the people who claim to be the leading institution and for when it comes to moral values, the model that the whole world needs to be looking at as recognizing what's right and what's wrong is so far behind everybody else that only now they got up to the point. And this is an official admission that this was not criminalized. Sexually abusing people was not criminal until now. This is an admission by them. So, like, how is this not seen? Like, if you're a Catholic, how do you not look at this and you're like, well, you guys are like hundreds of years behind everyone else. Why am I looking at you guys when it comes to a role model or when it comes to answers to good and bad? Like, what is wrong and what is allowed? Why am I following you guys? You guys are behind everyone else. Like, I don't understand how could you be a Catholic and look at this and be like, oh yeah, I'm still gonna remain a Catholic? Why? Anyways, Suze, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I just want to touch on one thing. So these new guidelines remove the discretion given to bishops and other church leaders that allowed for offenders to sidestep accountability and church authorities to cover up abuse. The new law makes it clear that the failure to investigate and punish offending priests will have consequences, and seeks to speed up a process that victims and their advocates have criticized as lengthy and cumbersome. What took them so fucking long? It doesn't make any sense. And not to mention the fact that this doesn't even go into effect until December. So we still got to like ride out another 6 months. Why the wait?
Get your abuses out of the way before December.
Yeah, like I don't understand why it just can't be effective now. Like this is what we're doing effective Monday morning or whatever.
This isn't like legislation where we got to figure out, okay, we need to get this. Like what?
No, and it almost seems like it's giving. Yeah.
Just shut it down. Just shut it. You guys have failed. You guys cannot unite. You guys are the Vatican is a failed state. Just shut it down. Get the police. The Italian government should recognize this as a failed state and just raid the whole thing. Just shut it down. By the way, is this also an admission that there's protection for abuse? Like they're like, oh, we're no longer going to be protecting people who abuse priests who are sexually abusing other people. We're from December, we're not going to protect them anymore. So this is an official admission by the church that like this is not the enemies of the church. This is the church itself saying that we for 2,000 years we have been protecting this organization that you have been donating money to, has used your money to protect priests, from paying the consequences of sexually abusing other people. This is an official admission by them.
And I also think it's crazy
that they don't punish people who actively participate in the cover-up.
And the admission is that, oh, well, you never thought it was wrong until this moment as well. Like for people that maybe are not paying attention to some of the news, I know that my mother was shocked beyond belief when a lot of these priest scandals came, because she just never knew about any of that. So people are going to be saying, what? It wasn't wrong before? It took until 2021 for you to officially say abusing people is wrong and covering up the abuse is wrong and you shouldn't do it?
I would also like to highlight a very salient point made by Hemant Mehta on his blog on this. And this is very important to bring up. Quote, the rules also say nothing about contacting secular authorities. So a priest is accused of abuse against a minor or an adult, may lose his role in the church, but there's no guarantee that he will face any actual measure of justice. And I thought that was an incredibly important point that Hemant Mehta brought up, that there is no legitimacy given to contacting non-church authorities in these new canon laws. So there is busted by Hemant, says Doorknobhead. And so, you know, this is Catholic canon law. So this is what will happen to these perpetrators within the Catholic Church. Okay, this is faith law. Okay, this isn't man-made law. Okay, so I mean, it is man-made, but it's not the rule of man, so to speak. So it says nothing about actually holding these abusers accountable in the actual countries and communities that they live in.
Or so following the law where they live.
They could still go abuse other people outside of the Catholic community as long as secular authorities are not made aware of this person's actions. It's horrible. Secularity is saying, no way. Why the fuck did they even do this? Seriously? They just said, yep, we hide abusers and we aren't going to actively do that anymore, but we might not tell anyone. Basically.
So we're not going to hide our abusers anymore, and but we're not going to stop these abusers from doing this to all kinds of other people outside of our church community.
Honestly, if you're a Catholic, I want to talk like you have no shame if you're still a Catholic, especially if you donate to the church. Like, if you are donating to the Catholic Church, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You are actively spending money on protecting abusers. That's what you're doing. That's what you're. That's. Oh God.
Okay,
I don't understand.
Armin, what if there's a Catholic who it's their kink that you shame them for donating to the Catholic Church?
No, don't make fun of this. This is not good. This is all right. Yeah.
I have Catholic shame. I can make jokes like that.
Go find somebody with an OnlyFans account, and they will take care of it.
You know what I can't figure out? That crimes against children are considered, wrong, taboo across all kinds of different cultures. Even in prison, there's honor among these murderers and rapists and thieves. That people who commit crimes against children they're not part of their group. They actually will physically harm them. So, and there's all these people that use the crime against children to whip up fervor. In particular, we saw some of that, with the Pizzagate and the Q and all these things, because everyone thinks it's a terrible thing. But why has that not happened to the church? What is it that it's got to be religious privilege? It's got to be blindness to religiosity. I don't understand it, because people have used children and crimes against children as a way to really move the needle on things or force people to acknowledge it in a more open way. It took them all this time to just say, yeah, it's bad. Like, it's mind-blowing to me.
Very true.
I was just looking at the bell.
The shame bell.
Yeah, I'm just looking at online to see how much I could buy a bell. So I have a shame bell for
you can use your singing bowl. Can you knock something against that?
It's not a bell. It has to be a bell. I'm going to have a bell. I'm going to one day have a bell here.
It's worth investing in that.
It's worth investing. It's a little bit pricey. Guys, donate so I have enough money for a nice shame bell.
A shame bell.
Yes.
Armin, you should get a gong, like a little gong. And just
but it's not the meme. It's not the meme. It's not the bell from Game of Thrones. It has to be a bell.
Oh, I never watched the show, so sorry. I guess I'm not getting this cultural pop reference.
It's okay. You're not getting it. It's also a boomer meme, so that fits well. All right, can we clap for
Bro, I'm Generation X. We are the hippest, coolest. Yeah. We don't give an F about anything, generation.
Okay, Rivka, let them know.
Okay. All right. Can we clap for that? No. Okay, next news.
Next news. Calls for Catholic Church apology after mass grave of Native children found in Canada. The discovery of the Kamloops Te Sequapemp First Nation children's remains. So that's an indigenous group in Canada. On May 24th has recommenced calls for the Roman Catholic Church to apologize for its part in Canada's policy of the 19th and 20th centuries. During that period, indigenous children were removed from families to attend state-funded residential schools. Chief Roseanne Casimir said in a statement that more bodies may be found as all areas had not been searched at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. The Catholic Church operated the school from 1890 to 1969, prior to the Canadian government taking over its management until the school's closure in 1978. This Truth and Reconciliation Commission has pressed the Pope to apologize. Executive Director Cindy Blackstock of First Nations Child and Family Caring Society noted that the Catholic Church has yet to accept full responsibilities for reparations to families. So I want to touch on this because this is very big news. And there were like hundreds of remains found of children on the land of this residential school. 215 children, some as young as 3. And there are so many questions, like a lot of the stuff that went on in these residential schools, and stuff like this happened in America as well, is absolutely horrific. It's recognized by many people as a cultural genocide. Rivka touched on this earlier in the stream today when we were talking about...
This is actual genocide, not cultural genocide.
Yes, but genocide. I'm talking about the specific structure, institution, and system of these schools. Rivka touched on it earlier when we were talking about what's happening to the Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, and she referenced this. Well, now this incident in Canada's history is coming back into the forefront as all these remains were found at this residential schools. I mean, kids would die of starvation, and we don't know exactly what happened to all these children. Like they said, it is likely that more remains will be found. Many of the almost 150,000 children attending schools from 1883 to 1996, this system was active in Canada while I was alive. Okay, so until 1996, to assimilate them into white Canadian society, encountered neglect and abuse as their native languages and cultures were forbidden. Canada's government officially apologized in 2008, admitting the physical and sexual abuse in the schools was widespread. So I was watching a little short clip of news about this today, and Trudeau was saying that the Catholic Church may be criminally investigated for this. So if so, that is huge.
Wow. That's the first time thank you, Trudeau, I guess. Amazing. I don't know if people understand how big of a news this was in the past week or so. This was like this spread shockwaves in Canada. It's very interesting because for a long time we were told in Canada about like, oh yeah, the crimes of the Catholic Church in the past to the natives, and we were always like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, dark history, dark past, and everybody kind of knew like, yeah, there's some, I don't know what, but yeah, I guess like the Catholic Church did some things to the native children, like so, most people knew something about it, but like we were told about it in the schools and university and some places and other places, but we didn't. But now all of a sudden with the discovery of these remains of children, this was like, it went from being like, oh yeah, I guess like the Catholic Church did something bad back in the history that we don't know what. Now it's like everyone is like, holy fucking shit, what the hell did they do? Like it's brought, is highlighting it in all of Canada in such a way that I didn't think it was possible. Like this is major news right now in Canada, so much so that even the content creators usually that don't highlight Canada, they're highlighting this. This is how big of a deal it was. And by the way, the numbers of the bodies of children that they have found is like, it's a fraction. Like for many years, a lot of activists were trying to bring attention to this, and they assumed a lot of these children had died because they went missing. And these are children that were forcefully removed from their parents. Like this is not like, oh yeah, let's make it motivate you, like I don't know, somehow give you some cause to manipulate you in a way to give up your children so we could Christianize them. No, this was like, we want our kids, like, no, we're going to physically remove these kids from your care and physically like take them away and put them in schools with the intention of Christianizing them. Like this is not like something that they didn't open about it. Like, yeah, you guys are heathens. This is a Christian country. We need to make you. We need to fix this problem by making your kids Christian to save this nation. This is Canada. We're not talking, guys. We're not talking United States. We're not talking like Brazil. We're not talking Philippines. Like, these are Christian countries that people think about like overly Christian. We're talking Canada, all right? And we're talking Canada continuing to do this while we were alive, as Susanna mentioned, right? Like, this is recent history, right? Anyway, Susanna, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So, to give a little bit more context, wait, where was this number? They were saying that they believe the actual count may be somewhere around. Okay, here we go. While it's not known yet how the children died, quote, accidents, fires, and contagious illnesses at residential schools all contributed to a high death toll, which the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has estimated at more than 4,000 children. The Roman Catholic Church has declined to apologize for its role in what Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission found in 2015 to be cultural genocide, despite Trudeau writing to Pope Francis to ask for one. So let me rephrase that. In 2015, Canada's own government recognized their actions as cultural genocide. At that point in time, the Prime Minister of Canada wrote to the Catholic Church asking for an apology to the Indigenous peoples of Canada. The Roman Catholic Church said no. So that was in 2015. Now this has happened again, and this has reignited calls for accountability and action. But I would actually like to play Trudeau's exact comments very quickly, because I just thought it'd be good to show. So let me know if you guys can hear this.
Head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, went a step further.
Now, before we have to start taking the Catholic Church to court, I am very hopeful that religious leaders will understand that this is something they need to participate in and not hide from.
The head of the Indigenous...
That's pretty...
That is strong language. Right. He said, before we start taking them to court. You have to start getting with the program, essentially. I
want it to become normalized. Like, I think if one country leads, you know how in like France, we were hoping that maybe Macron could lead the way in normalizing a liberal government actually taking a stance against, segregation and stuff like that. And I think like because they went overboard in some areas, that might not actually happen. Unfortunately, we don't know. We'll see. But I'm hoping like Trudeau. I mean, Trudeau made many mistakes, but I'm hoping on this he normalizes, like takes the lead to make it normal for. I mean, Australia has taken the lead. Actually, Australia has made it popular to take Catholic priests to court, so that's great. But I hope more countries like make this a thing, make the whole thing go bankrupt, right? As strong as this is, okay, if I was the dictator of Canada, okay, this is like naive, optimistic dreaming that would never happen. What would happen under my regime would be that we're shutting every church down, and you guys have to pay reparations, right? Like we will cut. Not only we're going to close every church, we're going to close down Vatican's embassy, and we're going to hold Italy's government responsible at forcing the seizure of assets of the Vatican, so that that could be like, we will take them to international courts for them, not apology. I mean, like, you know what? I would say, don't even bother. We don't want apology. We want reparations. We want you to guys, like, our natives today need to get paid by Vatican assets. We need to sell your art so you could afford paying our natives. That would be like, I would like, don't even bother wasting your breath.
And all the legal fees, so it doesn't cost any taxpayers money. Because when you
Exactly.
lose the case, you pay the legal fees. So
Exactly. I would take him to The Hague. I would be like, yeah, this is like, yeah.
I mean, the
But-
Canadian government would be part of that as well, because the system wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Canadian government. That's part of what this Truth and Reconciliation Committee is about. Like, they got to pay their reparations too.
I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, of course, you're right. They should, but none of this would ever happen. I'm just saying, because this is like, the Catholic Church is too powerful for this level of aggression. So that would require me to be a dictator rather than, again, that would never happen. But it would be what I would do. Probably I would lose my office very shortly after doing that. But it would be I will go down as a legend, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I wouldn't remain in power.
It'd be so worth it.
Yeah, it would be worth it. Anyways, can we hold on? Actually, I don't have the next news ready. Can we clap
While we wait for the news to be ready, I would like Rivka to show off her shirt.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
ooh, look at that.
that's right.
Oh,
Guys,
nice.
you know what time it is. She showed up for the show prepared wearing her Atheist Republic shirt,
Oh,
which gives me a good excuse to go plug our merch. Guys, check out we have a ridiculous amount of shirts on our website.
we got merch, bruh.
I love it. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yeah, let's do it. No, like, it's not as bad as it normally is.
We clap, but we won't be excited about it. Okay.
Yes.
Next news.
Christian foster care service refuses to sign contract banning anti-LGBT discrimination. So this is in the state of Kentucky. In Kentucky, a Baptist-affiliated foster care provider, Sunrise Children's Services, is refusing to sign a clause in a new agreement with the state that forbids discrimination based on sexual orientation. Currently, the United States Supreme Court is reviewing a refusal by the Philadelphia Catholic Social Services to work with same-sex couples as foster parents. Sunrise Children's Services officials are worried that the disputed clause would compel them to violate their deeply held religious principles thank you guys, my deeply held beliefs. By sponsoring same-sex couples as foster or adoptive parents. Supporters of the clause see it as a critical defense against discrimination. Chris Hartman, executive director of the Fairness Campaign, a Louisville-based gay rights advocacy group, stated that if Sunrise doesn't want to abide by the new clause, then they shouldn't have access to state money, state contracts, or children in the state's care.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If those are the rules of the state, you're welcome to not follow them, but you don't get state's money. And so once you allow one group to do this under the guise of, religion, it becomes a snowball effect. I don't want to work with adopting kids who are of a specific religion or race or ethnicity, or if the parents live in a certain zip code, or if, it's a slippery slope. I mean, they're welcome to not adopt to LGBT parents. They just can't get the state's money to do it. That's exactly what happened in Kentucky with the Kim Davis refusing to sign the marriage licenses. She can refuse to sign it, but she doesn't work for the state of Kentucky, and she's a representative of the state. So she's able to act as the state, and it can be separate from her beliefs. This is her job. And I find it interesting that people always have jobs or they work for the state or they're involved with the state, saying that they can't violate their, personal, they can't separate the two. But yet they tell people all the time, we don't actually hate gay people. We can separate the person from the behavior. Well, apparently you can't, because you can't do your job, which is equal protection for everyone in the state, mandated by law, and still have your personal beliefs. So which is it?
I would just like to say that I flippin' hate that in America, so much of our infrastructure, like foster care services, are religiously influenced. This is a huge problem. Like, relying on religious organizations to provide critical infrastructure for our society is such a detriment to our entire society. It reminds me very much of how a lot of US taxpayer money that goes towards assisting the HIV/AIDS epidemic in Africa goes towards religious non-governmental organizations in Africa that institute Catholic policies regarding HIV prevention, which basically means you don't get condoms, So like, my money is going towards these organizations that are fully responsible for how drastic and dire the HIV epidemic is there. Just as another example of why faith-based institutions providing critical infrastructure is such a detriment to societies. It drives me crazy. I'm like, why are we still doing this?
Yeah. I mean, like, in the world that my dream world, this wouldn't even begin to, like, look at the subtitle. Baptist affiliated Sunrise Children's Service is refusing to sign a clause in a new contract with the state that bans discrimination based on sexual orientation, right? The fact that it's possible for them to be involved with the state before, we're thinking we are criticizing them for something so obvious. Like, you need to play you need to play by the rules to be able to be involved. I'm like, no, even if you sign this clause, you're a Baptist affiliated organization. Why is the state even considering doing business with you? Like, what on earth? Like, let alone the fact that they're not willing to sign a discrimination-based law, like, limitation, right? Not even, like, even before that, you're a religious institution. Why is your government, Suze, Rivka, both of you, this is your government. Why is your secular government doing deals, signing contracts with religious affiliated? Like, it's in their goddamn name. It's a ministry. It's actually a ministry. This is
also actually on purpose. There have been, I think Bush was big on using faith. He opened a lot more of the door to faith-based organizations being able to take the function of secular civic infrastructure from the government. And also there were several court cases. It's really late. I can't remember what they were now about. And also with the Bush administration started it. And then it's been, this ball rolling down a hill, picking up turds on the way of more and more faith-based organizations are allowed to provide services and take government money. And I think that it's really important to know that a lot of other institutions, secular or city or government or county, have been decimated by either the legislature or even the voters, refusing, because they always have tax levies to fund these things and no one's interested in paying for it. And so you often get the religious people who will step up to the plate to fill this supposed void, which is almost on purpose because they're getting rid of these organizations, and then they're saying, well, we'll have the religious people do it, because there's this assumption that they're better at it or somehow superior to caring than anybody, a secular institution, because they're religious. So it's blatant religious privilege and violation of the First Amendment in terms of government establishing religion, because if you're paying churches to perform government functions, then you are, in essence, establishing a specific religiosity.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I just think it's hilarious that whenever Armin leaves, people are just saying that Iran was invaded. But my next point was, so I want to go back to my point that I was making about how dependence on these religious organizations to fulfill basically infrastructure that should be under the complete control of the state is such a detriment to us. Child welfare advocates worry that losing Sunrise, which offers residential treatment programs, would further strain a state system struggling to keep up with demand. Kentucky consistently has some of the nation's worst child abuse rates. So this means that they have a lot of children in the foster care system. Then it goes on to continue, quote, "You cannot pivot from losing such a large provider of child welfare services and not anticipate some degree of disruption," said Terry Brooks, executive director of Kentucky Youth Advocates. If they refuse, there's the deadline of June 30th. They could stop placing people at the agency. But this Sunrise Children's Services has been contracted with the state for 50 plus years, becoming one of Kentucky's largest service providers for abused or neglected children.
So they're holding the state and children's lives hostage to their irrational, bigoted views. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
You need us so much that we get some sort of special dispensation because the children.
Yeah. And
Well, wait. So I hope the answer to this is no, fuck you. We're going to do whatever it takes to find an alternative.
Hopefully, but that's part of the problem is that if
There's no alternative.
They're
Build
screwed.
an alternative.
Children are going to suffer regardless because of the disruption to care because of this. They're going to have to pull probably thousands of children out of their services.
And the fact that they've been there for 50 years also means that they've developed all kinds of relationships that you need to help with foster parents, with doctors, with, shelters, all these things that are now gone. And you have to start from scratch. So it's really, they're holding them hostage.
Guys, at some point, cancel culture has to do some good, okay? This is your moment, leftists. Cancel the shit out of this, okay? This is a target that you need to, we're talking about discrimination against children, right? We're talking LGBT. We're talking all the things deserving of an attack by leftists. This is a legitimate target. All the destructive force that you have, this is a big one, okay? This is the Goliath, okay? Right? This is not like some small Twitter user. You want to take something down? Here's the target. Go after this. Destroy this one. Shut it down. You guys are in favor of government intervention. Build something that could do as an alternative to this. This is a big one that there's no alternative for. Get government involved, build an alternative, and also here I'm promoting cancel culture. Cancel the shit out of this one.
It's actually funny you say that because supporters of Sunrise Children's Services are just saying that this is they're being the victims of political correctness. Good. But I want to highlight.
I support this political correctness against this. Okay. Yes. Good. good. You should become. I hope you become the greatest victims of political correctness.
I want to highlight also that there is a long-running federal lawsuit alleged against Sunrise that they imposed religious indoctrination on children. And also that the aspect of them not wanting to comply with this ban on discrimination against LGBT people cuts several ways. So it cuts in terms of who is allowed to foster and adopt children. So you're barring children from potentially loving homes in a state that has one of the most strained foster care systems in the country, largely because of how severe the opioid epidemic is. Like, things are bad in Kentucky in terms of the strain on the system. Also, this affects the children in this services care, right? So this could affect one of the gay rights advocates saying was that he was worried that LGBT children in Sunrise's care are deeply closeted and hide their sexual orientation and out of fear of facing indoctrination or being proselytized too. So I think those are very key things to highlight as well. One, that there's this ongoing lawsuit about religious indoctrination. It's like, I understand clearly that they are a huge provider of care in the state of Kentucky, but with that going on, I think it falls upon the duty of care of the state to say refuse to do business with them. Secondly, it just in terms of how the discrimination hurts the children and on multiple levels, both in terms of them personally, but also where they could potentially be placed too.
Nothing says Christian love more than withholding protection from children who need it the most because of your ideology. Your role is to protect children, and you're withholding that service because you're butthurt over the fact that you can't discriminate against people because of their sexual orientation. This is Christian love.
This is a point that just came to my mind. This is such a good example of why we shouldn't rely on services that should be provided by the government to be fulfilled by religious organizations.
Yes.
Because our values will continue to progress. They will continue to get better. Organizations that are beholden to an inflexible doctrine are always going to permanently be a detriment to our societies because they cannot evolve with our societies. They are always Armin's like, yes, get it, girl. they are always going to hold us back. This is always going to be a detriment. Like, because it is inflexible. It cannot progress with the rest of society.
That was, I have nothing else to say. That was such a great point. That was, you put it so well. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. People are saying good point, Susie. Mic drop, Susie. No, that was such a great point. I can't. Yeah, I don't think anybody could explain it any better. All right.
I'm just nailing it home today.
Yes, you are. Yes, I'm glad you see it. Okay. Yes, and also Marcia is saying, excellent point, Susie. Kentucky children cannot wait 2,000 years. Yes. Read this one while I get the next
Ghost Bunny is saying, I agree with Susie. Seriously, this is so dumb. Ministry services don't progress, and they don't have the children's best welfare in mind. Just, quote, how do we keep this kid in Christianity? Yeah, or like, how do we keep our policy in line with Christianity, not with what is best for our community?
Awesome is saying, wait, I can't. Armin is lucky to have Susie. Awesome, you don't even know a fraction of it. Like, this is like, you are saying like just the tip of the iceberg. You have no idea how lucky I am to have Susie. And also Susanna is full form. Yeah, every day. Right. Wow, we're getting a lot of love for Susie. I love it. Keep them coming.
Thank
All right.
you.
Oh, all right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news. Oh, but
Next.
no. Wait. Rivka had to go. She messaged us in the
Oh, yeah.
private chat. So yeah. So I just wanted to let you guys. It was getting late for her. Anyways, next news.
Next news. Millions leave Southern Baptist Christian denomination in massive decline. So, in 2020, the Southern Baptist Convention, or SBC, witnessed a downfall in membership, attendance, donations, and the total number of congregations. A new report from Lifeway Research, a renowned evangelical research firm, released on April 23rd, 2021, shows membership declined by nearly 436,000 members since 2019 and 2.3 million from 2006. The executive director of Lifeway Research, Scott McConnell, said the higher death rate due to the global disease going around, I'm using coded language because of YouTube, was one of the main factors that caused an overall decline in membership by 3%, along with fewer congregations and fewer members baptized. SBC leaders may meet in Nashville this month for their first annual meeting since the global disease that's going around. They are expected to address the declining trends and the recent debates regarding how they deal with race, women, abuse, and politics.
Wait, so what's the reason behind this? Is it the beer bug or?
Well, that's what they're saying plays into this. But however, for 14 years in a row, statistics from the SBC have been in the decline. Like I said, it's 2.3 million since 2006. This is particularly significant because the Southern Baptist Convention is the country's largest Protestant denomination. So this is very important. And like I said earlier, Protestant Christians are the most the most Christians in America. And so this is a significant chunk of them.
Wow.
And they have said that so when a new church comes up, that it's called church planting, I guess. So they're saying that they've had several hundred churches being planted in the US and several thousand abroad last year. So they've maintained an increase in planting churches despite all these shutdowns that we highlighted earlier in the show. But their membership is still declining overall.
Yeah, we keep getting news like this. Like we used to get news like this once every 6 months about numbers declining in churches. Now we're getting them like every month. This week we got them three in 1 week. All right, for different signs.
Well, that's what I was saying in the pre-show was like from what we covered last week to what we're covering this week. It's just like hit back to back to back of like all these news items coming out about attitudes shifting towards like non-existent belief in not believing in the existence of God, like declining, more churches closing than opening, declining memberships across denominations. And I was telling one of our news writers who I send this news to go on the website, I was like, it looks like, religion is going the way of the dinosaurs a lot faster than I anticipated in America.
Yeah. There's a negative side to this. The negative side is that we're going to run out of points to make every time we have to report that their numbers are down. Susanna just put out. At some point, like Susanna is going to come and say, like, "Oh, there's new report that shows that church attendance are like down, or more people are leaving their religion." I was like, "Are we just going to now repeat our points from last week? Like, we don't know what to say."
Well, yeah, we're trying to do such good work that we work ourselves out of existence. That's the goal, right? Like you work so that like we do this work so that we don't even have to do it anymore. We're irrelevant. We are going to work ourselves into irrelevance. Okay.
Yes, but it's tough on us. It's like, really, guys,
It's
Like we
tough
have
on
to
us.
it's tough on us because we have to come up with new material, new points to make about this every time, and we're gonna run out and we're gonna be like, what do we say now? Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, no, Sus, there's hope for this. I'm kidding. The one thing that I'm noticing is that we're also getting reports out of rise of the fringe groups that are a lower percentage but have more extreme views. Do you know what I mean? So you know how like a giant religion declines into a cult, like cults turn into religions, and then when they're dying down they go back into being a cult. The people who remain in those cults are often extremely crazy, and they have more radical views and they become more dangerous. Like one thing I don't know, we're not going to, I don't know if we are going to be able to cover this because recent reports just came out and the cult of Q is rising, and to the surprise of even the people who were considering a threat, they're actually surprised about how fast this thing is growing, right? A lot of people are not paying attention to it anymore because of after the elections. People thought that this is like just was a Trump thing, but it's not just a Trump thing. This is like a cult that is. So I don't know, like a lot of these religious people, the radical ones are growing. I don't know if that's going to be a trend that we have to keep an eye on. We might actually, like, I don't know. I want to report on this, but YouTube might think that we're promoting it and penalize us for it. But go on,
I
Susanna.
know I've been thinking the same thing because that is very important to cover. But again, because YouTube is stupid and because of no, that's what I wanted to highlight. Don't take it away from me. Marcy was saying at the beginning of this news, you are giving me hope, Armin. And then Armin talks, you are taking my hope away, Armin.
Oh, okay. No, I'll give it back to you. Marcy, I'll give it back to you. This is the natural, well, not natural. This is the recurring thing when religions die. The last phases are more radical, right? So this, just see it as a sign of an ideology dying, right? So it's expected, like it's a cornered dog that doesn't know what to do but to bite, right? So yeah.
Yeah, the rabid atheist is saying secular extreme cults are on the rise. Armin is correct. Although I will say with that particular one that we were talking about, I don't even like to say it too much in a video because I'm so paranoid about YouTube. There are a lot of heavy evangelical flavors to it. It's very influenced
it's
by like,
it's
wait,
go on.
I had another point. I wanted to give a quote. So this is a quote from J.D. Greer, the outgoing president of the Southern Baptist Convention. So in reflecting on these numbers, he said, quote, "We desperately need a great movement of God among our people, for which these statistics should all drive us to our knees in prayer." He added, "The data also underscores the indispensable need for providing the best theological education to prepare the next generation of pastors and church leaders for the challenges of ministry today," which to me just seems, I read that as like, we need to train our people to do better marketing.
Right. But okay, guys, we're at the point of history in United States where you get to see in real time something that has happened in history many, many times, right? And this is very interesting to note, to watch, because when religions are dying, they evolve, and sometimes you see the formations of new religions in reactions to the irrelevancy of older religions. And these newer religions are predictably a mix of some fringe ideas from multiple different ideologies that are floating around at the same time, right? And usually the ones that they borrow from, a lot of them have anti-authority, rebellious nature to them, right? While also maintaining some of the elements of the mainstream traditional religion, right? So you see that in the birth of Christianity, right? And also first the birth of Christianity, but then eventually the canonization of Christianity, right? So the birth is like it's not a 1 year that Christianity is born. Like the whole taking shape of the religion, it was like a very long process that took hundreds of years, right? But you can see it's a reactionary movement to certain authorities, but then when it's being formed, it takes some ideas from here, some ideas from there, but also takes some ideas from what was already in society as acceptable, as its base with some seasoning on top. You see that in Judaism as well, right? Judaism was a progression of Yahwehism before it. You see that in Islam as well. Like a lot of people assume like Christianity's birth is associated with Jesus Christ, which is not. Like it took like a 400 or 500 year process to even get close to what we recognize as Christianity today. Same thing with Islam. A lot of people think Islam was born with Muhammad. It was not. It took at least 200 or 300 years until the Abbasid era to even get canonized in the form of what we recognize as Islam today, right? But during this process, you can see that they are experimenting with different ideas from like, if you look at Islam, what is the base? The base is like Judaism and Christianity, but then you see some influence of Hellenism and some other ideas, some local folk stories and paganism around, even Zoroastrian influence somewhat in it. Like you can see it's a mix and match of different things. So if you look at what's happening in the United States, you can see the desperation of some mainstream ideas that are losing membership. So this is the time, this is the environment where you could expect new cults, the birth of new cults that eventually might become canonized in the form of religion. Q might be one of those things. And you can see, like, when you look at Q, you can see the base being evangelical Christianity, maybe. And then you can see the Red Scare, a mix of Red Scare in there, a mix of satanic panic in there, a mix of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories in there. And basically, you put different ingredients and you create a new cult that, if this cult is successful, it will eventually become established as a mainstream religion. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you get to see this now happening while you're living. Like all the things that was when Judaism was being created, when Christianity was being, and on a much higher speed, because the process of transferring information is a lot faster. So what took maybe 400 or 500 years for Christianity, what took 200 years for Islam, you might see the same process. You get to witness it in real time, maybe in the process of a few decades. Suze.
I mean, I went on a date with a guy who said that he accidentally became a cult leader within the span of 3 months. So apparently it can be way quicker than that. Anyways, in regards to the news story, I wanted to highlight this comment by the rabid atheist, who is a former pastor himself, saying pastors are leaving the faith as much as the people. I don't think training up pastors better will help. If anything, it might lead to more decline, which I think is also a very good point. And we covered news about that, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, about how many pastors have quit their jobs after how rough of a year 2020 was for them. So we're seeing a lot of big shifts in America, that's for sure. And now it's time for the last news. And no, you don't have to show anything. I'm going to show my screen.
Okay.
So, here we go. Last news.
Wait. I was muted again. Say it again.
Okay. Last news. Okay. Hashtag ex-Muslim blocked by Instagram. Activists demand correction. So guys, this is something that happened within like the last week that I wanted to bring your attention to. So if you go on Instagram and you search for hashtag ex-Muslim, you will see this sign. It says, this hashtag is hidden. Posts for hashtag ex-Muslim have been limited because the community has reported some content that may not meet Instagram's community guidelines.
Wow.
I would also just like, for comparison, you can go see if ex-Christian is blocked. Spoiler alert, it isn't. And so to highlight this, ex-Muslims of North America tweeted, Instagram has hidden the hashtag ex-Muslim. Ex-Muslims are a marginalized group. We are used to being silenced in Islamic countries because our existence scares fundamentalists. Over at Oversight Board, we hope you correct this issue. And then I'll get into this in a second. Zara K, the ex-Muslim activist, said, at Instagram has taken it upon itself to hide the hashtag ex-Muslim hashtag based on mass reporting with no formal justification to why this was done. Ex-Muslims are a marginalized group persecuted by their former communities in some countries. Oversight Board needs to act on this ASAP. And here you see the same notification on like a phone. And Nick Cano, who's actually a friend of mine, says ex-Muslims are one of the most disenfranchised minorities on the planet. They currently face the death penalty in 20 countries and are regularly ostracized by their families and communities. At Instagram is on the wrong side of this. Hashtag ex-Muslim, hashtag Instagram. And then we have some tweets from Seth Andrews saying it's conspicuous that anyone would find hashtag ex-Muslim threatening or offensive. At Oversight Board, please review and reverse. Ex-Muslims deserve to be seen and heard. And then again from Seth Andrews at The Thinking Atheist, the hashtag ex-Muslim tag is valid and deserves to be seen. At Oversight Board should correct the blocking of the hashtag on Instagram. Please give this issue a signal boost out there. So I wanted to highlight this because this is a way. The effect of this is that less ex-Muslims can find community. Less ex-Muslims will find out that there are more people like them. Less ex-Muslims will be able to find people who they can be friends with, who can understand their stories, can help them find resources, to help them find a sense of belonging that they lost due to the ostracization from leaving their faith. And obviously, that's a huge. Providing community for people who leave their faith is one of the primary reasons for the existence of Atheist Republic, right? But this will have the effect of less people being able to do so. Like when I saw this, I thought about Armin's video that he put out for Awesome Without Allah, hashtag Awesome Without Allah. And Armin said, I can be awesome without Allah because I have community. Because I have other ex-Muslims. That's why I'm awesome. There's a lot of people who aren't awesome without Allah because they can't find community. And that's going to be the effect of this action. So one thing that I am going to encourage people to do is to contact the Oversight Board. So on Twitter, it is at Oversight Board. So what a lot of people don't know is that Instagram is owned by Facebook. They both are under the jurisdiction, so to speak, of the Oversight Board. The Oversight Board makes decisions on what content Facebook and Instagram should allow or remove based on respect for freedom of religion and human rights. So there are instances where, like I'm very familiar with on Facebook, you have to go contact them about, hey, it was wrong. You shouldn't have taken this action. And it's the company's effort to try to correct things that shouldn't be censored, right? And this is one of those instances of a hashtag that should not be censored. You can go check out their website, or you can tweet at them at Oversight Board and explain why this is wrong, explain why this is harmful to the community, explain the hypocrisy of it. And also, there are people saying that this is because of AGA is posting the link to the website in the chat. Thank you, AGA. There's people suspected that this is because of mass reporting of the hashtag as harmful, as offensive. I don't know if that's true, but if that is the case, as Atheist Republic has previously experienced in our history, it has the effect of legitimizing the fundamentalists, legitimizing the extremists as their attitudes and efforts to silence critics or apostates is correct. It is valid, as harmful, as hateful. Okay. I personally don't believe that to be the case the majority of the time. So I encourage people to just make a tweet at Oversight Board or go check out the website. Here you can learn more about how you can bring this to their attention. And I'm really hoping that this can be reinstated, because there's no good reason why this should be completely blocked on the entire platform of Instagram.
Have they given any, explanation for what was being shared under this hashtag that made them completely block the entire hashtag?
Not that I'm aware of beyond what is here. Just that the community has reported that some content may not meet the community guidelines. It's very vague. Is it blasphemy? Is it supposed hateful, views expressed towards a group? Because a lot of people are too dumb to realize that criticizing Islam is not demonizing Muslims.
Right. I have another question. What would happen? I just want you guys to come on a journey with me. Just close your eyes and just imagine that we lived in a parallel universe where Instagram decided that there seems to be some anti-LGBT stuff that is being posted under, hashtag Islam, right? And given that one of their community standards on Instagram is not to be homophobic on their platform, what would be...
Oh, I see where you're taking this. Just
imagine with me, okay? If Instagram, we have noticed some intolerant posts used with the hashtag Islam. So we are going to hide, we're going to remove, we're going to block hashtag Islam. Just imagine the world's reaction to that. Just think with me. And then compare that thing that you're imagining right now, that reaction from the world and from the Muslims, and the cost and the PR nightmare that Instagram has to deal with in that alternative universe. Compare that with what we are able to do, the pressure that we are able to put on Instagram when they take out something like hashtag ex-Muslim. And just imagine the difference. And then given this difference, given how little power and resources and support ex-Muslims have, ex-Muslims that their entire identity is defined by their victimization of entire nations, right? That the only reason why they even identify themselves as ex-Muslims is because they need each other's support because of the threats that they have to face. And given the difference between the powers of these two groups, imagine Instagram coming and silencing the weaker one that desperately needs more support, knowing that the backlash is going to be so insignificant that they will be able to get away with it if they wanted to. And then, after imagining all of that, realize that our job is to make this backlash bigger. We have to be the cost that is not there right now. Go ahead, Susanna.
Very eloquently put. Yeah, it's wrong. Like I said, the people who will be hurt by this are ex-Muslims looking for a community. There's a large community on Instagram. A lot of people, Twitter is a very scary place for them, so they prefer Instagram. Less people are going to be able to share their stories. Less people are going to be able to show other people that it's okay to doubt, that it's okay to consider leaving, and that actually your life won't fall apart if you leave Islam. You're not going to become a drug addict if you leave Islam. Like, you can still be happy. You know, you can still be productive. It's detrimental. Yeah, so I would really encourage everyone to reach out to the oversight board, as I previously mentioned. And yeah, like Armin said, we need to make sure that there's backlash to this, because this is ludicrous. And this is the cost of being a minority within a minority.
Right.
And you've made a very salient point about like anti-LGBT stuff. Like, a lot of people, not yet. A lot of people are within the ex-Muslim community, like LGBT. So it does also have compounding effect in that. But before we end the show today, I wanted to give another plug. I'm doing another plug for my speaking event that's coming up this week. Yay! So, in the live chat, I just put a link to where you can register for the free virtual event I am doing at CFI Canada on Wednesday. I'm very excited about this. This is like my first time. It's my first solo speaking engagement. Yay. And I'm going to be talking about the Blasphemous Art Project, that Atheist Republic does. I'm going to be talking about what I think is the moral imperative to engage in blasphemy. I'm going to be talking about what started the Blasphemous Art Project, why this is an important issue, the consequences to our organization for engaging in this form of activism, why this is a legitimate form of activism. And there's also going to be a Q&A at the end. And I also wanted to highlight that it's very important that you guys actually register for this. So it's free, but you do have to actually register. So I included a link in the description. AGA has a link here. And if you guys look in the description, it's at the very top. Okay. So you don't have to think about it. It's at the very top. That's where you can register. That's how you get the Zoom details for how you actually join this virtual event. Like I said, completely free. You just got to make sure that you register. So yeah, that's happening this Wednesday. And I'm very excited about it. And I'm very thankful for all the encouragement that I've gotten from our community about this upcoming event of mine.
Okay, so I can see the link here. Hold on. But there's a problem. So I went to the video that you're watching right now, and I can see the link, but because it doesn't have like the HTTP, you can't click on it. So people are gonna have to like copy and paste it. So I'm gonna fix this after the stream. But yeah, it's gonna be on this video at the very top. Right now, you have to copy and paste it, but I'm gonna go and fix it so you actually look at.
My bad.
Look at Suze. Look at the links I add. Look at them all. They're all clickable. And
you don't have to do this to me right now. God damn.
All right. Okay. I'll fix this. Don't worry. I'll take care. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, so link in the description. Make sure you, while you're there registering for Susanna's event, you better be there. You better be there. I'm watching you. You better be there. You should show
and
up.
well
Come
behaved.
and cheer her on. Cheer her on, all of you. Okay. Show that like CFI. I want CFI to notice, like, oh my god, every time we invite Susanna, like the whole Atheist Republic army shows up. We need to have Susanna more because they bring us a lot of people. Okay, so you guys need to show up there so that CFI notices, like, oh, this is great. We need to bring Susanna even more so go there and show her support. Okay, while you're there,
did the Protecting Blasphemers event, The entire live chat was like Atheist Republic.
Ah, you guys are
we showed up and showed out today, but
You
please be
guys-
appropriate in the live chat.
no, don't worry about it. Be yourself. While you're in the description registering for Sue's event, make sure you also subscribe to our newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, are you even part of the family? Are you? Can you even consider yourself?
Fearing.
I am takfiring you guys out of the Atheist Republic if you're not subscribed to the newsletter. Okay, link in the description. Subscribe. We give you rewards. You get my book, Why There Is No God, for free, and even better, you get Sexy Blasphemy for free. Why wouldn't you? Why are you not subscribed? Fix that.
If
Fix
you are
that.
wondering
It's free.
why the largest secular democracy on the planet is going after us, and you
Mhm.
don't know, you can find out by
Because we're
subscribing
too-
to our newsletter and
It's
see
because we're too sexy.
why-
We're too sexy. We're too sexy for India. We are too sexy for India. If you don't know what I'm talking about, subscribe to our newsletter. You get all of the sexiness for free. Link in the description. Cool. All right. Yes, exactly. Do it now. Yes. All right, guys. Good.
Wait.
Wait.
Doorknob Head is saying, and be well behaved. Such a big ask. It's as if Susanna asks a big herd of cats, please sit here. Don't make any noises and don't go wandering off anywhere.
Okay. Oh, done. Subscribe. Oh, thank you.
Yay!
Oh, I appreciate that. With the hand, when they head to God and God, who's that? Is that Krishna or Ram? That's Krishna.
I think so. He has a flute.
Yeah, that's Krishna. God, I'm so well versed in Hindu mythology now. I can even tell the art.
And I am well versed in the Indian Penal Code. Look at what 2020 has done for us.
Look what have you done, BJP. All right. Okay. All right, guys.
I was like, I know myths, and I'm like, I know the law.
All right, we should go.
Big reflection in how this organization
Yeah.
works.
Yes. All right, guys. I'm in the spirit of being honest with you guys. I'm not telling you guys that I love you, all right? Because I'm being honest. I like you very, very much. All the people in the live chat who spend time with us here, I like you so much. Thank you for being here. You see, this means like when I'm not saying I love you guys, that's because you get honesty. You from Atheist Republic, that's what you could expect. Okay. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye. See you next week
Bye.
or sooner.